I used to think quiet meant calm. Turns out, quiet is just where truth goes when it's learning your name. My name is Jasmine. I'm 33. I live in Chicago, Illinois, a few blocks off Logan Square in a brick walk-up with stairs that squeak like a friendly warning. I'm a 311 call center supervisor. All day, I help the city hear itself. Potholes, missed pickups, broken lights, and the loneliness tucked inside those requests. I route needs to places they can get fixed. I train ears to hear the real thing under the first thing. At home, I forgot to use that skill. My partner is Owen. He's 35. He edits documentaries, the kind with quiet piano, slow pans, and a city breathing behind every frame. He brings order to chaos and then pretends the order was always there. We've been together 7 years. Living together 5. People called us solid, not dramatic, not boring. We were the couple that brings extra ice to the block party and stays late to stack folding tables. Our cadence made sense. I worked early. Owen worked late. I packed oatmeal and fruit. He packed timelines and cuts. Sundays, we walked to Logan Theater for the matinee and argued kindly about endings on the way home. If you'd asked me about our foundation, I would have said trust. If he'd asked me what I missed first, I would have said nothing. Bare smile. Cracks love that answer. It started with a project that wouldn't sleep. Owen got hired to cut a doc about neighborhood gardens turning vacant lots into kitchens. He came home with dirt on his shoes and light in his chest. He said the field producer was Sophia, organized, unflappable, the sort of person who keeps batteries, Band-Aids, and snacks in the same pouch and never panics when it rains. She listens in a way that makes people tell the truth, he said. I said, my job taught me that too. We smiled like parallel lines that believed we would meet. Then the hours stretched. Not scandal, just more. Owen's late turned into later. Dailies piled up. Voiceover drafts multiplied. My evenings got quiet enough to hear the fridge's second song. Red flags didn't explode. They rearranged furniture. He started saying, we. We're pushing the story into seasons. We think the roof angle is the memory. We want the narration to feel like a conversation. We, a good word. It just didn't include me. He began labeling containers in the fridge, cheerful sticky notes. For morning shoot, don't eat me, P.L.s. He hummed a phrase I didn't know. The hum followed him into the shower and out again. My emotionally wrong decision, I over-accommodated. I said, whatever you need. I cooked extra. I kept later hours so his late didn't feel lonely. I congratulated the edit like it was a person at our table. The discovery didn't come from lipstick, a text, or a stranger's gaze. It came from a file without a face. One Tuesday night, he slid his laptop toward me. Babe, he said, soft, can you spot check a caption file? The network needs the SRT tonight. Fresh eyes catch weird punctuation. SRT, subtitle timing. My world is timestamps. This was a favor that felt like home. He opened the project folder. Open Vios Franolio Draft Doc V9 SRT, he said. Scroll. Make sure nothing reads wrong out loud. Flag anything that trips you. He kissed my head and went to coil cables by the door for the morning shoot. I put on my glasses and started reading. Time codes on the left, lines on the right. 4000 5000, 404 0500. In a city that forgets our feet, a garden reminds them they matter. Good line. 04 10,000 4 2500. A neighbor says, food is how we say we believe you. Strong. Keep. The captions moved like a calm river until a line hiccuped. I blinked back. 4007 21,000, 4007 24,000. S, this is where the roof breathes. S, speaker tag. I scrolled. 4077 24,000 24,777. Oh, you showed me that. Oh, another tag. S and O. Oh, another tag. S and O. My chest tightened like air before weather. Earlier time codes? No S. No O. Only here. Like a whispered correction the file forgot to erase. I kept reading. 04,000 67,000 1,500. 24,000 6,500. S. We can let the light do the sentence for us. 24,000 6,000 1,000 4,000 6,000 33,500. Oh, that's why the middle matters. The middle. My word, the thing I tell new hires, don't skip the middle. It's where people tell you what they actually need. Further down, 4 town 102,000. 4 town and 06,000. I didn't have a language for joy that doesn't brag until someone lent me theirs. No tags. Back to narration. Then, 4,000 10,000 6,500. 4,000 10,000 9,500. Oh, a signature. Who signs captions? I took off my glasses. The room didn't tilt. It narrowed, politely. Owen? I called, steady. Yeah? He called from the hallway. Your caption file has speaker tags, I said. That'll confuse timing. Want me to strip them? He appeared in the doorway. Cables in his hands. All easy shoulders and eyebrows with a question. Which tags? S and O in the roof scene. He went very still. Not guilty. Just stopped. Like a cut on a timeline waiting for a decision. I'll fix it, he said. He didn't reach for the laptop. Didn't deflect. Didn't laugh it off. He looked young. Like the kid he used to cut on our couch, fall asleep with earbuds in, and wake up apologizing to a timeline. I kept my voice gentle. Who is S? Sophia, he said. Quiet, honest. And O is you, I said. He nodded once. Is there something you need to tell me? He sat across from me, cables a neat circle on his lap. He watched his hands like they had lines he could read. I feel seen when I work with her, he said. His voice didn't beg, didn't sell, just a fact that cost both of us. By her, I said. Not because of her, he said quickly. Because of the room we make for the story. I don't make that room here. We talk schedules, groceries, your calls, my dailies. We're good at managing. But he swallowed. I started bringing my first draft somewhere else. There it was, the sentence that moves furniture back to the walls and shows the floor. Is it physical? I asked. No, he said, and his mouth had a tiny pride he didn't know to hide. Pride is not helpful here. Do you want to be with me? I asked. Yes, he said, fast, then softer. I don't know how to stop wanting that conversation. The word that did more damage than conversation. I nodded. I can't be the person who gets the edited you, I said. I need the room where you draft, here, with me. He closed his eyes and took a full breath like he was learning how. I never meant, I know, I said. And here we are. We didn't fight. We did logistics. Adults. A table. A pen. He'd stay at a friend's in Lakeview for 2 weeks. We'd split the eventual house savings. He'd keep the big monitor we said we'd share and never did. I'd keep the kettle and the sidewalk plant that chose me by staying alive. He packed a bag. Left the spare key like a ceremony he refused to make grand. The door clicked. The apartment practiced being one person's place again. I didn't become an inspiration. I became specific. I woke earlier, ran while the sky was unsure what color to be, made oatmeal with too many toppings because too many is how I want to be held by breakfast. At the center, I coached a new hire to hear the second story. A woman called 10 times about a streetlight. The light wasn't the light. It was the walk home after the late shift. We rerouted a crew. We called her back. She cried and said thank you in a voice that made the day count. I didn't read more SRT files. Didn't stalk the project socials. I put my attention back in my pocket where it belongs. 2 weeks later, I saw Sophia. Not planned. Not a showdown. I was leaving a community meeting, traffic circle design, and she was arriving to shoot B-roll of a garden that had just won a grant. She recognized me first. Jasmine, she said, careful, kind. Yes, I said. We stood in that threshold where automatic doors sigh and can't choose who to favor. She didn't look guilty. She looked responsible. I'm sorry for the part I played, she said. No equation. No poation. Just the math. Thank you, I said. My mouth didn't crack. My eyes didn't ask for a room that wasn't mine. She nodded once, the way you nod at a neighbor who returns your bins properly without being asked. We went to our separate work, both kinds of useful. Spring in Chicago is practical magic. Sidewalk chairs reappear. Dogs drag people to patios. The lake pretends it's already July. I moved a chair closer to the window. Bought a lamp with a dimmer and told it gently what I needed. Started a training circle at 316 of us on Wednesdays practicing de-escalation and presence. We called it the middle because progress happens there. On Thursdays, I tried ceramics because it scared me to make something pointless on purpose. My first bowl wobbled like a baby deer, and I loved it for not quitting. I saw Owen once, downtown, near food trucks. He looked tired in the way you look when you are carrying something that might be worth it. We half smiled. Stood 3 feet apart and 10 years deep. "How are you?" he asked. "Quieter," I said, more present. "Not brag. Inventory." He nodded. "I'm sorry," he said. "Inventory too." "I know," I said. We let the street own our silence. Then we let it go. We walked different directions without acting out the leaving. Summer arrived loud. Block parties, ice cream trucks that know 6 songs. Kids turning hydrants into open mouths. I made friends with the lady selling elodies on the corner. She taught me to ask for the lime after the chili, so it sticks better. A coworker dragged me to a Thursday reading in Wicker Park because you never go anywhere people clap. Fine, I went. The first reader was a high schooler who wrote like she owned thunder. The second told a story about fixing a toaster and saving a marriage for 3 months and deciding it was enough. I clapped. I cried. Bought a notebook at the counter because I am that predictable. In the back, a corkboard full of community notes, free tutoring next to a cat-sitting plea next to a mutual aid pantry flyer. I snapped a photo of the pantry hours. At home, I put it on the fridge like a mirror for my better self. New people entered my life not like fireworks, like cups in a cabinet I didn't know I owned. At ceramics, a woman my age asked if I wanted to split a bag of clay. Renee Ray Haymoy, 32. A bike tech at a community shop, she called herself a chain whisperer. We talked about Greece like it has opinions and glaze like it has secrets. We started walking home together because our streets overlapped for one good block. On the third walk, she asked, "How do you like to be paid attention to?" I stopped. Smiled. "In the middle," I said, "not just at the finish." She nodded like she had that sentence in a drawer. We didn't crash into love. We let the sidewalk introduce us. Coffee on a stoop, a shared umbrella in fake May rain, elutes with extra lime. I told her my story on purpose, not to audition for pity. She listened with her shoulders relaxed and eyes that didn't try to own the room. She said, "I don't need to be the only room. I want to be a room you choose." I said, "Yes, that." The doc aired in late summer. The city liked it, so did I. I watched the stream with my work email open, a place to put my hands. The captions were clean. No tags, no signatures. The credits rolled over gardens turning empty into enough, a dedication for the people who kept the middle. No names. A sentence trying to save everyone. It didn't. I shut the laptop. Made tea. Watched a bus make a decision with its blinker. In September, our team got the go-ahead to pilot callbacks, check on folks a week after a report closes. Did the light stay fixed? Did the crew return? Do you feel safe now? It's small. It matters. People cry when the city remembers to call again. One woman said, "I know it's just a light, but I sleep now." I wrote it down, taped it inside the cabinet with the pantry hours. A year from the caption file, I stood on the Bloomingdale Trail, the 66 sun sliding low, bikes whispering by, joggers talking to themselves. I opened my old note with 3 rules. Ask with gentle mouth, want the truth more than the old life, don't get small. I didn't need to read it, it had moved into my bones. Renee squeezed my hand. "What's in your head?" she asked. "A city that sometimes calls back," I said. "And?" "A version of me that calls back too," she laughed. Kissed my cheek like a small yes. I still answer calls where the first story isn't the real one. Still train new hires to hear the second story. Still stack folding tables at the end of things. Because endings deserve care. Still buy too many toppings for oatmeal, on purpose. I do not say he cheated when people ask why it ended. It lets me be lazier than I want to be. I say, we outsourced our first drafts. They squint. I let them. Some truths must be lived before they sound good. If you're listening in your own quiet, with your own screen, your own file, your own tags that weren't supposed to be there, I don't have orders. I have an invitation. Ask with a gentle mouth. Want the truth more than the old story. Don't get small to keep a room that won't hold you. I'm Jasmine. I route needs to places they can get fixed. I teach ears to hear what mouths can't say yet. I make omelets. I clap for like they are news. I keep pantry hours on my fridge so my better self has a chance. I don't outsource my first drafts anymore. When the apartment is quiet now, it isn't hiding me from myself, it's holding me. I stand by the window, feel the city's hum, and speak the line that didn't exist in me then and lives in me now. I am here. Not an apology, not a plea. A presence. Mine first. So whoever I love next gets the person I did not abandon to a caption file. Quiet isn't the same as calm. But with practice and the right rooms, quiet can become home. Autumn in Chicago does this mercy. It gives you gold before the gray. I started walking to work on purpose, past the bakery that opens early, past the barber shop with the sign that says, fresh cuts, old stories, past a corner where a man sells newspapers like hope is paper. At 3011, we rolled out the callback pilot to 3 more neighborhoods. We trained reps to ask, do you feel safe now? Not just, was it fixed? Because fixed is a fact. Safe is a life. I led the training with a simple sentence. The first thing is often not the real thing. Listen for the second. New reps nodded. Veterans leaned back and smiled like they'd been waiting to hear themselves explained. At home, I tried a new habit. I wrote the kindest thing that happened each day on a sticky note and stuck it to the inside of my cabinet. A plumber who called a stranger sir in a voice that sounded like respect. An older woman who left a bag of mandarins for the night shift. A kid who phoned to report a pothole because my bike deserves better. By December, the cabinet door looked like I'd tiled it with small yellow light. Renee came over on Thursdays after ceramics. We cooked badly on purpose and laughed like the smoke alarm was a friend. We ate on the floor some nights, backs against the couch, because the floor felt honest. She kept asking good questions. What does repair sound like to you? Which part of your day is you and not your job? When you say present, what do you pay with? I didn't rush answers. I let them arrive. Like trains that take the long route because they don't want to miss anyone. One late night, Owen texted, Owen, can we meet? Me, for what purpose? Owen, returning things. And clarity. Me. Okay. Saturday. Daylight, Logan Theater steps. 11. Daylight matters. Public steps matter. Context is a kind of boundary. Saturday came, cold bright. We sat on the stone like 2 kids who skipped class to try honesty. He slid a tote toward me. Inside, a scarf I'd forgotten, a book I'd loaned, the plant mister I accused the universe of stealing. He kept his hands on his knees like promises were heavy. I watched the doc again, he said. Okay, I said. I kept wanting to text you, he said. Thank you for not, I said, not unkind. Just true. I've started asking myself, who is in the room when I feel lit, he said. And if the answer isn't me, I leave. I surprised both of us by smiling. That's a good rule, I said. He nodded, small. He didn't say, take me back. I didn't say, I miss you. We let the steps be steps, not a stage. I hope you're well, he said. I am honest, I said. He laughed, that little laugh of someone who recognizes a word they had to learn. We stood. We hugged like citizens. We walked away without dragging the scene. Winter showed up for real. I grew good at hats. The callback pilot faced its first storm. High winds. Ice that pretends it's pretty and then tells the truth under your shoes. Lights out on 3 long blocks in Avondale. Downed line on a bus route near Albany Park. Phones lit up like sky. We moved the night shift into the day. We trudged with a kindness that sounded like authority. A man called shouting. He wasn't shouting at me. He was shouting for his mother on oxygen. My rep froze. I took the call. Sir, I said, slow, tell me the cross streets. He did. His voice broke on the second one. I said, I'm staying on the line. I looped ComEd and fire while he breathed into the phone like it might keep the house alive. We got a generator there in time. He cried a thank you. I will never throw away. After, I stood in the break room with my hands around a cup of too hot tea. I felt my nervous system shake off the fight like a dog. Renee texted, food at your door. Eat. I opened the door. Stew. Bread. A note. Your middle matters. R. I sat on the floor, back to the door, bowl in my hand, and let myself be held by heat. January. A panic attack at the ceramics studio. Not mine. A man 2 wheels down. He stared at spinning clay like it was a mouth. Renee went still. She said one sentence and handed me the sponge. Small water, she whispered. We made a shield of bodies that looked like regular standing. We kept him in the room with us until his breath remembered it knew how. He laughed after the shaky laugh of a person who changed rooms without moving. He said, I don't know what that was. I said, a body being big. He nodded like that made a kind sense. I went home and wrote a new sticky note, keep people in the room gently. I put it near the kettle. Renee started calling her Thursdays maintenance. She meant it like love that isn't a holiday. We set rules. No phones at the table. Ask what kind of listening is needed before we start. Solutions? Witness? Company while I try to find my sentence? It felt like building a small city charter for two. In February, I met Renee's mom at the bike shop. She came in for a flat, left with a tune-up and a lecture about winter tires from a woman half her age with grease on her cheek. Her mom shook my hand and said, if she looks tired, feed her. She forgets. I said, if I look tired, tell me to sit. I forget. We made a pact over a bell. Valentine's Day came quiet. We bought daisies from a grocery store that hums under bad lights. We made eggs for dinner because celebration can be simple if you let it. She said, what you want to be paid in? I said, attention, not applause. She grinned. Budget approved. In March, the mutual aid pantry needed a new fridge. The corkboard flyer had wilted. I took a photo again. This time I emailed 3 people who actually move money. 2 wrote back with questions. 1 sent a donation with no questions, and 3 heart emojis like a teenager who runs a foundation. A week later, the pantry posted a picture of a white fridge that looked like hope with a handle. Renee and I took 2 bags of groceries and put them on the shelf like a small ceremony. We stood outside after, hands in pockets, acting tough against wind. She said, do you ever want to leave? Chicago? I asked. Your old life, she said. Sometimes, I said. Then I remember I'm building one. Spring crept in. The city smelled like thaw and risk. I got an email from Sophia. Subject, thanks. Body, your callback idea. Owen said you pushed for it. We used a version of it for our community screenings. We asked people to come back the next week and tell us what changed. It's making better volunteers. I wanted you to know. I read it twice. I replied, glad it helps. Keep the middle. Then I closed my laptop and cried, which is sometimes how gratitude leaves the body. April brought Easter eggs on lawns and potholes pretending to be lakes. We got a surge of calls from people whose cars forgot they had suspensions. I asked ops for 1 extra asphalt crew for 2 weeks. They said no. I asked again with numbers. They said maybe. I asked a 3rd time with names: the woman on oxygen, the bus route that breaks when the hole gets bigger, the school drop-off lane that teaches kids the word detour too early. They said yes. We built a dashboard no one asked for and then everyone used. We watched the dots turn from red to green, like a city learning a new word. By May, Renee and I had a ritual for hard days. We named the feeling out loud. We gave it a chair. We said, you can't sit with us, you can't set the table. It made us laugh. It made us brave. One Saturday, I rode with her while she fixed bikes at a pop-up clinic. A man brought a kid's bike with streamers and a chain that looked like a dare. Renee cleaned it like a prayer and set the chain just right. The kid looked at her like she was a magician who charged in stickers. He said, thank you. He rode in a small, fast circle and almost crashed into a cone. He corrected. He grinned like his mouth just learned balance. We ate tacos on a curb after. Grease on napkins. Wind that smelled like cilantro and lake. She bumped my shoulder with hers and said, you look like a person being kept. I said, I am. June, my mother visited. Southside raised, now Hyde Park, part-time library aide, full-time opinion. She hugged me at the door in a way that puts your bones back where they belong. She looked at Renee, then at me, then at our orange bowl holding keys like an altar. She smiled like a person recognizes the piece you were missing. We took her to the lake. She told a story about a summer her sister swore she saw Muhammad Ali and how the whole block believed her until fall. We ate Italian ice that turned our tongues into children. On the walk back, Mom said, you look right-sized. What does that mean? I asked. You're not shrinking, she said. You're not puffed up either. You're Jasmine-sized. We laughed. I wrote it down later so I wouldn't forget. July heat made the air feel like soup. Taste of Chicago arrived with lines that teach patience and smells that make diets lie. The pantry fridge died. A post went up. The comments section did what it does. I turned off my phone for 20 minutes and then turned it back on because pretending isn't a strategy. I called the donor with emojis. They sent another fridge. People can be ridiculous and useful. It's allowed. Owen texted once, Your mom's book recommendation? The one about listening? Title? I sent it. He replied, thank you. I typed, you're welcome. I didn't type, I'm proud of you, even though I was. Not because I'm cold. Because some sentiments belong to rooms that don't exist anymore. August gave us a storm that wanted headlines. Sirens, streets pretending to be rivers, calls like static. We spun up 311 into an emergency rhythm that felt like dance and math. I worked 18 hours and forgot to cry. At 3 a.m., a caller said, I can't find my cat. Can you help? I almost said no. Then I heard her breath. I said, tell me his name. Lucky, she whispered. I stayed while she opened cabinets and shook a jar. Lucky came out from under a bed like a late apology. We both cried and pretended we didn't. I hung up, put my head on my desk, texted Renee one word, empty. She replied, home. 4 hours. Eggs. Sleep. I wrote a sticky note, kindness at 3 a.m. counts double. I stuck it high, like it should see the room. September, a staffer quit mid-shift. Not in anger, in overwhelm. I walked him outside. We breathed air that remembered to be air. He said, it's too much. I said, today, yes. Every day, he asked. Every day, he asked. No, I said. Most days are human-sized. You hit the edge. That's data, not a diagnosis. He looked at me like his nervous system was copying me. He came back the next week. He said, thank you for not calling me a hero. I said, you're a person. That's harder. We pay better in coffee. We laughed. He stayed. Renee and I took a train to Milwaukee one weekend for no reason besides trains make us feel like linear time is optional. We sat by the window and ate pretzels like children on a field trip. We talked about maintenance, not milestones. She said, I want us to be boring in the way reliable is boring. I said, sign me. She took a nap on my shoulder. I watched fields do their green math. 1 year and some days from the caption file, Sophia messaged again, community premiere tonight near Humboldt Park. Public Q&A. If you come, I'll save a seat near the exit. No obligation. I thought about it all morning. I asked myself 3 questions. What do I want? What would feel like presence, not performance? Where is my edge? At dusk, I went. I wore soft shoes and a jacket that says civilian. I sat in an aisle seat near the door. The dock was better on a community screen. People talked back to it like church. A woman gasped at a garden she had helped plant. A kid pointed and said, that's our fence. During the credits, the room clapped like it meant it. In the Q&A, someone asked, what did you learn? Owen said, to keep the middle. He didn't look for me. He kept his eyes on the room that showed up. It was the right room. I left before the lights went all the way up. On the sidewalk, Sophia caught me with a small wave. No big scene. She said, thank you for coming. I said, you kept the middle. She said, we're trying. We stood there in ordinary air. Then I walked to the bus stop and didn't look back because back wasn't a place anymore. October, I turned 34. My mother brought a cake that leaned and tasted like memory. She gave me a card that said, stay Jasmine-sized. Renee gave me a bell for my bike. It sounded like cheerful boundaries. We threw a small party with neighbors who return your tools and laugh at your jokes. Someone spilled wine. Someone told the story about the fridge like it was folklore. Someone cried about a job and then danced to the same song because the body is allowed to be multiple things in 1 hour. Near midnight, the room thinned. I stood at the sink with Renee and washed plates like we were counting blessings. She bumped my hip with hers and said, what's your wish? I said, to keep practicing. She kissed my forehead like a check mark. The first snow fell on a Tuesday that didn't ask for poetry. Renee slipped on the stoop. She cursed in a whisper. I laughed into my scarf. We both stayed upright because we held the railing in each other. At 311, the callback pilot went citywide. We didn't ring every single person. We rang the ones whose notes said fear. We rang the ones who called 10 times about a light that wasn't a light. We rang because the city is a voice and someone should answer. I presented the results to a room where budgets decide if naps are allowed. I kept the slides ugly on purpose so the numbers didn't look like art. One man said, how will we measure the middle? I said, by who comes back. He nodded like a person pretending to write down what he already believes. On a Sunday in late fall, Renee and I rode our bikes to the lake. We leaned them on a rail and stood in air that tasted like the color white. She said, do you remember your 3 rules? I said, ask with a gentle mouth. Want the truth more than the old life. Don't get small. She said, add 1. I asked, what? she said, "Call back." We both smiled like future tense had just learned our names. We rode home slow. We stopped for soup we didn't need. We tipped well because gratitude should circulate like good blood. Later that night, I stood at my window and watched a bus decide to become a right turn. I put my palm to the glass. I said the sentence my life finally taught me to say, "I am here." Not an apology, not a plea, a presence. Mine first, so whoever I love gets the person I did not abandon to a caption file, a notes tab, or a neighborhood that only calls once. I am still Jasmine. I still route needs to places they can get fixed. I still teach ears to hear the second story. I still keep pantry hours on my fridge for my better self. I still make omelets I clap for like they are news. I still stack folding tables at the end of things because endings deserve care. And when the phone rings at a bad hour and a voice says the first thing that isn't the real thing, I remember my rules and I keep them company until the middle shows up and we can get them somewhere safe. Quiet isn't the same as calm, but with practice with people who keep calling back, quiet becomes home.